Hey everyone, today we'll be taking a look at an AMD B650 motherboard that is positioned at the higher end of the spectrum of B650 boards and targeted at professional content creators, the Gigabyte B650 AERO G. Sporting support for the latest Ryzen 7000 series of processors in a sleek aesthetic package, let's find out if this board is any good. To recap, AMD launched its AM5 platform and the Ryzen 7000 series of processors alongside the range-topping X670E and X670 chipsets on 27 September 2022, and one thing that stood out was the value proposition or lack of it, seeing as X670E and X670 boards were really pricey, making lower-end Zen 4 parts such as the Ryzen 5 7600X questionable in terms of their price-to-performance ratio in a completed build with a motherboard sporting the X670 chipset. The launch of the B650E and B650 therefore strives to create value, hopefully, for potential Ryzen 7000 series consumers in the mid-range. Now, to achieve these lower price points, AMD's pared away some features from the X670 family of chipsets to create the B650E and B650, as you can see on the screen. Now, the B650 AERO G that we have here today, as its name implies, sports the B650 chipset and sits within the AERO series of content creator-oriented motherboard offerings at the higher end, placing above the Gaming X and Ultra Durable series of boards by Gigabyte. In keeping with the design language of the AERO G series of products, the B650 AERO G comes in a white box that looks minimalistic and sleek. Moving over to the rear of the box, in keeping with the minimalism, we get a quick summary of specs for this board, with the key feature of the AERO G series of boards being VisionLINK, which is targeted squarely at professional content creators. We'll take a closer look at these specs and VisionLINK later in this video. On a side note, if you're new to this channel, do consider subscribing so as to keep up to date with the latest product releases in the PC hardware world. Setting aside the board for the moment to see what other accessories Gigabyte has included with the board. First up, we get a Wi-Fi antenna right here. And this is accompanied by two SATA 3 cables. We also get a spare M.2 drive screw and standoff. A DisplayPort cable that is used to enable the VisionLINK feature I spoke about earlier, as well as a noise detection cable. Apart from these, we also get a quick start guide, as well as a VisionLINK setup guide right here. With that, onto the board itself. The B650 AERO G comes with a black PCB with grey accents. As can be seen, it has an integrated I/O shield design and has large silver heatsinks all around. I really like these plastic inserts on the heatsinks, which have a pearlescent kind of finish that changes between a light shade of blue and pink under different lighting conditions. Now, I find that this effect really enhances the appearance of the board, and I can already see how this board might be a solid base for, say, a white-themed AM5 PC build. Now, being a productivity-oriented motherboard offering, the B650 AERO G does not come with built-in RGB LEDs, though it has a smattering of RGB headers on board, which we'll cover later on in this video. The VRM heatsinks for this board are decently sized, and Gigabyte has got you covered with M.2 drive heatsinks for all three M.2 drive slots that this board comes with. Unlike the X670E, the B650 has a single chipset design, and the SID chipset sits beneath this large passive heatsink right here, which also doubles up as the heatsink for two of the three M.2 drive slots. For memory support, the B650 AERO G comes with 4 DDR5 slots with support for up to 128GB of RAM and the DDR5 6666 standard when overclocked, with plastic slots of a dual tab design. Naturally, the board also supports AMD's Expo technology, which are basically built-in overclocking profiles for DDR5 memory. Right next to the RAM slots is an onboard power button that allows you to power up your PC, as well as a QFlash Plus button right here. QFlash Plus is a feature that allows you to update the motherboard's BIOS without needing to install a CPU, RAM, or graphics card, which will come in handy especially since the AM5 platform will likely support several generations of new Ryzen processors in the future, hopefully. Further down, we get two temperature sensor headers that allow you to connect thermistor cables so as to monitor the thermals of your onboard devices. We also get a set of status LEDs right here that can help with troubleshooting PC startup issues. Moving on, we get a USB 3.2 Gen 2x2 Type-C front panel header. While still on the topic of front panel USB connectivity, we get a USB 3.2 Gen 1 front panel header right here that provides support for up to 2 front panel USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type-A ports. The bottom edge of the board houses two USB 2.0 front panel headers, with each header providing support for 2 USB 2.0 Type-A ports. Some interesting features to highlight: we get a Thunderbolt add-on card header, which is to be used in conjunction with a Thunderbolt add-on card that is sold separately by Gigabyte, and a noise detection header right here that is to be used in conjunction with the included noise detection cable so as to monitor the noise levels within your PC case. Finally, we get a serial port header here, which is useful I guess, especially if you have legacy PC hardware lying around that uses the serial port interface. In terms of expansion slots, this board comes with a reinforced PCIe 4.0 x16 slot, which has the Easy Latch feature right here that helps with removing a graphics card from the board. We also do get a PCIe 3.0 x1 slot and a full-length PCIe 4.0 x16 slot that operates at X4 mode. In the storage department, Gigabyte has included 4 SATA 3 ports, with all ports in a right-angled configuration to aid with cable management. For M.2 slots, it comes with a single PCIe 5.0 x4 M.2 slot and 2 PCIe 4.0 x4 M.2 slots. All of these slots support NVMe SSDs only and come with the Easy Latch feature, which facilitates the toolless installation of your M.2 SSDs. Do note that this PCIe 4.0 x4 M.2 slot M2C_SB shares bandwidth with this PCIe 4.0 x16 slot that operates at X4 mode, where if you have a NVMe M.2 drive operating at X4 mode in the M2C_SB slot, the said PCIe 4.0 x16 slot will be disabled. For audio, Gigabyte has included a higher-end Realtek ALC1220VB audio codec, while wired internet connectivity is powered by Intel's i225V chip, which provides support for 2.5 Gigabit Ethernet. Wi-Fi support is courtesy of a MediaTek module that is powered by AMD's RZ616 Wi-Fi 6E part, which also serves up Bluetooth 5.2. In the cooling and RGB department, the board comes with 8 fan headers, which are located in these regions of the board. Also included are 3 12V RGB headers and 2 addressable RGB headers located right here. Moving over to the rear I/O, the B650 AERO G goes for an integrated I/O shield design in white that looks pretty nice. The board comes with Wi-Fi antennae connectors, 2 USB 2.0 Type-A ports, a DisplayPort in port that is to be used for the VisionLINK feature, a HDMI 2.1 port that supports the 4K resolution at 60Hz, 3 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-A ports, of which this port here supports the QFlash Plus feature, a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port that supports the VisionLINK feature, 4 USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type-A ports, a 2.5 Gigabit Ethernet port, as well as your standard audio jack connectors. Now, a key feature of the AERO G series of motherboards is VisionLINK, which is something that Gigabyte targets specifically at professional content creators, namely graphic designers who use a pen display device for work. The centerpiece of VisionLINK is a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port. This port right here that supports power delivery of up to 60 watts and display output of 4K resolution at 144Hz, and you would hook up your pen display to the said USB Type-C port as per the illustrations here in the VisionLINK guide. You can take things one step further for a smoother visual experience on your pen display device by using the included DisplayPort cable to connect your graphics card's DisplayPort connector to the B650 AERO G's DisplayPort in connector on the rear I/O, while of course ensuring that your pen display device is connected to the VisionLINK USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port that I mentioned earlier as per the illustrations here in the VisionLINK guide. While I'm no graphic designer, I can see how VisionLINK could serve as a good quality of life feature for professional content creators that deal with graphic design. With that, the Gigabyte B650 AERO G is an interesting offering of an AMD B650 motherboard that is positioned at the higher end, serving up PCIe 5.0 M.2 connectivity, a higher end audio codec, 2.5 Gigabit Ethernet, Wi-Fi 6E, and the VisionLINK feature, making this a niche product clearly targeted at professional content creators. One shortcoming though is the price, where as of early November 2022, the B650 AERO G can be had in Singapore for around 512 Singapore dollars, while international folks can purchase this board for around $270 from e-commerce sites such as Newegg. These prices place the B650 AERO G near the pricing territory of certain lower-end X670 and even X670E motherboards. In view of this, you will need to consider if the VisionLINK feature is something that you will require for your daily workflow so as to justify the B650 AERO G's price. With that, thank you so much for watching, hit the like button and get subscribed if you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys around the next time.